Coming up on today's episode of Inside Man United, the headlines. Perfect update for United and Arsenal as Premiership rivals Everton reluctantly greenlight a massive £150 million double exit. And United also targeting two Leverkusen favourites with Red Devils duo set to be sold by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Man United are going to go into Serie A and go after Lautaro Martinez, the informed striker, also being targeted by Arsenal, now a favourite for Erik ten Hag. And United outcast Jadon Sancho in new low during Borussia Dortmund loan. And finally, Man United given food for thought as Mason Greenwood sends another message to Jim Ratcliffe. Should he be sold or should he be kept? All that coming up. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan. Thank you very much for joining me. And of course, if you are new around these parts, please hit like and subscribe if you like the content. A great weekend for United and a super important result against Villa, a 6-pointer. It does actually give us a realistic chance of hitting that top four. And to be honest, I thought the sentiment from fans afterwards going, we didn't play well, but we still ground out a result. I thought we did play well. Aston Villa also played very well. Harry Maguire was exceptional. Diogo Dalot was brilliant. Onana made lots of saves. But we created a lot of opportunities. And I thought that Garnacho, for as great as he has been recently, was still incredibly selfish in front of goal. I still think he's trying to be the hero and the main man. Marcus Rashford was, again, a little bit quiet. And it was an inspired choice, albeit maybe not overly imaginative, given what he's done throughout the season. But Scott McTominay came on and proving that he is a massively important impact player off the bench. Maybe not a great player to start with, and he's been given plenty of opportunities to prove his worth in that capacity. But when you're in set pieces or you're chasing a goal or you're actively kind of going for broke, he is an absolute nightmare of a player for opposition teams, and he just keeps cropping up with important goals, and he is undeniably making a massive impact on United's ability to try and snatch 3 points when it matters most, or snatching any points from the jaws of defeat or potentially a draw. So Garnacho kind of needs to get his finger out, but again, Højlund doing what he's doing best at the moment, which is banging in goals, even if the service hasn't been that great. He only got 2 opportunities on goal. That is a systemic failure on the part of the other attacking players that should be providing him with more opportunities to get in on goal, and they're just simply not providing him the amount of opportunities they should, either with a mixture of selfishness and taking the shot yourself, or a poorly executed pass, tripping over themselves, not passing when they should. That will come. Hopefully it will improve with time. But Højlund, it's now posing a new question for Ten Hag, with Roy Keane saying that Højlund, United are benefiting as a result of having no other options, forcing Højlund to play all these games. And while he looked like he was struggling in the beginning, he's now looking very, very comfortable there. He is at the moment. I'm sure he'll go through other periods where dry spells are inevitable. But it just begs the question, what kind of recruitment do United need to do in the summer when you've got a confident, firing, expensive, albeit young striker? How do you complement that? Do you get someone who's experienced, who's willing to play second fiddle to an inexperienced young prodigy who costs a lot of money? That's not easy to find. Do you buy another young lad and, have the two of them playing side by side? I don't like that approach either. We need experience in that position. But how do you get experience, someone who's also good quality, but someone who's also able to play second fiddle for a team that's looking to, make a title charge? It's a very strange set of criteria that Erik ten Hag and his scouts need to go after. Now, someone like Serhou Guirassy, maybe a bit of a journeyman striker who's just kind of lighting it up at the moment and getting his opportunity to shine. Would he be happy going in as a 27-year-old experienced striker, maybe hitting the peak of his career, to get to go to one of the biggest clubs in Europe, something he probably thought would never happen, and then be a kind of a backup, more senior level striker that's going to play 20, 25 games a season, maybe win some silverware, dine at the top table at European football, and maybe provide something for Højlund to learn off of, while kind of sharing duties with him. Maybe that is the perfect profile of player we need to go for. Someone who's experienced, someone who's not old, but not young, kind of in that 25 to 30 bracket, but who can score goals, who can be someone Højlund can learn off of, but not someone who's going to be throwing their toys out of the pram every time Højlund gets a start. That's an incredibly, incredibly difficult thing for United to do, but how they handle that remains to be seen. Serhou Guirassy could be an option, but as you've seen from the headlines, Lautaro Martinez from Serie A could be someone that we look at. And again, he's someone he's a right footer, can play in from the left-hand side, inverted. We can play him out wide. He is fast, and he has played out wide before as a second striker as well. So maybe Martinez could be an option. But anyway, without going on any longer, let's get a look into these headlines and see what we're looking at. So kicking us off here is Team Talk and James Holland. So yeah, two targets that we've been quite clearly linked with for a time, Jared Branthwaite and Amadou Onana, two players that Everton are probably going to have to get rid of to balance their books. We all know their financial struggles, their points deduction, etc. But these are players Arsenal will be going after as well. Arsenal seem to be going after the same kind of players we're going after. And such as their requirements being similar to ours. So Arsenal will be delighted amid claims Everton are expected to sell Jared Branthwaite and one of his classy teammates this summer. So yeah, Everton obviously doing very well, having signed Branthwaite for £1 million just 4 years ago. And he's gone on to do fantastic things at England under 21 level and doing very well when he was on loan in the Eredivisie. And he's come back into the Premiership now and established himself as a very capable, very fine defender who's certainly going to be one for the future. And of course, this is good news for them in terms of being able to turn a profit on a player they only spent £1 million on. This is going to be very good for their FFP. But again, he won't go cheap. But if Everton do get relegated this season, there's no way they're going to be able to charge the same amount that they would if they had stayed up. And I mean, can you really be expecting £150 million for Onana and Branthwaite when you're desperate to sell them? Even if they weren't desperate, are the two of them worth 150 combined? Absolutely not. It's Branthwaite's first full season in the Premiership, and while there is a premium on young potential, particularly young British potential, there's no way he's up near the 60-70 million bracket, and there's no way Amadou Onana is in that bracket either. I mean, you'd be doing well to get 100 million for the pair, if I'm being totally honest. So according to the latest from Football Insider, United have a good chance of landing Branthwaite as well this summer. That's because Everton are expected to sell him, of course. The Toffees have been handed a 10-point deduction. We know all of this. For Onana, meanwhile, a switch to Arsenal could be beckoning. Arteta, a big fan of the 22-year-old. It's probably likely that Thomas Partey will be leaving as well. So he would be a very likely replacement there. Obviously, Jorginho's not getting any younger either. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, and their names. I actually did not know their names were coming up on that article. So he's spent a majority of his campaign out injured, Thomas Partey. And Onana has performed brilliantly in the top flight. I wouldn't go on to say brilliantly. He's a very capable defensive midfielder. He's done well, but do I think he's in the kind of the elites in the Premier League? No, I don't, to be honest. Could he be? Perhaps. So it was revealed over the weekend that Chelsea are also interested in landing the Belgian, with both London clubs reportedly in talks over his signing. Everton want at least 50 million. That sounds reasonable, though they might hold out for 60 to 70. Well, they ain't getting 60 to 70 if people know they're going to accept 50. So that's just the way things go. So yeah, there's a couple of reasons why he might choose Arsenal over Chelsea. The first is that Chelsea have plenty of midfielders in their squad, but it does look like Enzo Fernandez is looking to leave. Moises Caicedo not doing too well either. But anyway, who cares about those clubs? The only player really I care about is Branthwaite. I could care less about getting Onana. Branthwaite is the player I think would be a fine addition. But I mean, that having been said, I mean, with the way Harry Maguire played over the weekend against Villa, I mean, I wanted Maguire out the door as soon as possible. I never wanted him in the door when we got him first. But since this captain's armband's been taken off him and he's kind of been asked to come in and do a job, he's actually started to kind of be the player that we know the club thought they were signing. And I think without the pressure of the captaincy and maybe knowing that he's going to be gone and he's got nothing to lose, I think maybe that lack of pressure is doing him well, because he's playing excellently. I mean, man of the match against Villa. And, is he a player that you'd keep? I mean, answers in the comments section. Would you keep Maguire? From what I've seen, I kind of would. If we're getting rid of Varane and we're getting rid of Lindelof, I'd be happy with Martinez, Maguire, Branthwaite coming in, maybe Lenny Yaro or Jean-Claire Todibo, and a couple of other players, the likes of which we'll cover right now. So 2 Leverkusen favourites. Obviously, Leverkusen absolutely flying in the Bundesliga. They've just beaten Bayern Munich 2-0 in the Bundesliga. Was it 2 or 3-0? I can't quite remember. But Leverkusen spanked Bayern Munich. And my opinions on Thomas Tuchel continue to be proven correct. If you can't win the Bundesliga in Germany with Bayern Munich, something's wrong. And even Nagelsmann, with all his struggles, managed to. Now that was more Dortmund shit in the bed, to be honest. But got poor old Harry Kane. Fucking hell, going to the Bundesliga and not winning with Bayern Munich that's some string of bad luck, I swear to God. Anyway, there's 2 players that United are being linked with, and one of which you're already fairly familiar with Jeremy Frimpong at the right back position, a player we were looking at last year, apparently back on the radar for United. Now, I don't know if Frimpong's going to be coming into United to play second fiddle to Dalot. Is Dalot going to be happy to play second fiddle to someone else? Are we going to try and adopt the Man City model of having 6-7 first team defenders all vying for position, depending on the tactics, depending on fitness, depending on your run of games? It's a luxury that City are able to benefit from, so why not United? So according to reports, United monitoring 2 Bayer Leverkusen standouts, and those players are Jeremy Frimpong and Edmund Tapsoba. A lot of people like Tapsoba as well. The standout performers this season for Leverkusen. They've been absolutely core to their success, and I think it's 17 wins out of 21 games. I don't think they've lost a game this season. 4 draws, 17 wins out of 21 games. I mean, it's an incredible record. So according to MEN, Manchester Evening News, Red Devils are continuing to monitor Frimpong and Tapsoba. Right back Frimpong and centre back Tapsoba were shortlisted as potential reinforcements by United last year, and Leverkusen are unbeaten in the Bundesliga this season. Yes, so correct. United held discussions with Frimpong last year. He was initially identified. There was a lot of talk about right backs for United last year, but it looked like it wasn't a priority given other positions that needed more attention. And then, Wan-Bissaka got his act together last year. He's obviously been unlucky with injuries, and Dalot's come in, and he's starting to look like the player that Jose Mourinho had been describing for such a long time. So Frimpong, an ex-City youth player, he's got a contract till 2028, but it looks like United are going to be in for these guys. So with Lindelof also looking to be out the door with Wan-Bissaka, we're going to need replacements for both of them. So Tapsoba certainly coming in for Lindelof, and then Frimpong obviously to replace Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, but certainly I think there's going to be some exoduses with regards defensive reinforcements. It's been made quite clear even by Fabrizio Romano and other outlets that defensive recruits are going to be top of the agenda for United and INEOS. So let's see what happens there. And on the striking front, I'm really interested. I mean, if Lautaro Martinez comes in, for me, that shows that Rashford's time at the club is done, because Lautaro Martinez, he is fast, low center of gravity, he likes to dribble. Lukaku, when both he and Lukaku played, yeah, they're both strikers, but Lukaku was slightly in front and Martinez is behind, acting as a second striker. He is right-footed, so he can come in off the left just like Rashford does. And if he comes in, there's no way he's coming to United to be a substitute. So someone's getting dropped. It ain't going to be Garnacho. So I can see Martinez, if he is brought in, that's the end of Rashford. Rashford's done at the club. So apparently United are looking at Martinez. Now, I've never been a huge fan of Lautaro Martinez. Obviously, he was very good in Serie A when he first appeared. He's gone through more quiet periods. I was thoroughly unimpressed with him during the World Cup. He did not take chances that he was given. And he was screaming of this kind of decent player, does well in Serie A. Is he ready for the elites? No. And has anyone come in and gotten him from Inter Milan? A club that's not winning the top honors, a club that's desperately in need of money, and no one's beaten down the door to sign Lautaro Martinez until this season. He's been doing exceptionally well, and United are stepping up their interest after Erik ten Hag has made a request. Apparently, one of United's priorities during the last summer transfer window was to sign 1 or 2 new strikers. And Ten Hag has made it no secret that he did want a striker, particularly with Martial out injured, but it wasn't to be. So a striker is definitely going to be on the list. But again, what kind of striker are you going to bring in when Højlund's playing so well and he's a young lad? And, are you going to reduce his game time by 40, 50% next season? on principle. I mean, you need to have backup, but what kind of backup is a very different story. He's currently one of the informed players in the Premier League. This is Højlund. Who'd have thought we'd be saying that a month ago? 5 goals and 2 assists in his last 5 league matches. Undroppable kind of form. So despite this, with United's financial fair play rules preventing them from signing a new striker in January, I think it's not a secret that I wanted a striker, Ten Hag goes on to say, because of the injury with Martial, etc., etc. So the Red Devils are more likely to sign a new striker in the summer. And according to Spanish outlet Fichajes, they're keen to sign Martinez. And he's got 22 goals and 5 assists in 30 games. So now he's the kind of the main man at Inter Milan, with Lukaku obviously no longer there. So, yeah, he's absolutely in form at the moment. He's smashing it in. And that's, exactly what United are looking for. Now, I can see him coming in and Højlund playing up top, Martinez out left, a bit of rotation. Højlund likes to come in from the left as well, so that would be a nightmare for anyone that's going to be considering doing any sort of man marking. Those players can kind of interlink and swap positions. I can see Martinez playing a little bit more withdrawn when Højlund needs to be rested. Of course, Martinez then leads the line, or Højlund can maybe start playing out from the left if he wants to as well. So it'll be very interesting. The options that we can get with someone like Martinez would be quite plentiful. So it said that United would seek to put on the table an offer powerful enough to acquire the services of the attacker. He's under contract until 2026, with Inter Milan keen to tie him down to a new deal. I bet they are. And United also likely to target a new centre-back in the summer. And they're talking here about United being linked with Matthias de Ligt. Of course, there's going to be links given his prior relationship with Ten Hag. I don't see INEOS having any time for de Ligt. His career has just stagnated and gone downhill since he left Ajax, which is surprising because he was so good. But like so many other players from that all-conquering Ajax team, they just have not trained on to become the players that we thought they could. That goes for Onana, that goes for Gravenberch, goes for Sebastian Haller. Congrats, by the way, on your African Cup of Nations victory with Ivory Coast. But, Dusan Tadic, Martinez obviously has gone on and done some good stuff at United. But again, no trophies in the bag, and he's out injured, and United aren't a consistent top 4 side yet. But I think his quality is not up for debate. But so many players from that team have not gone on to do what they should be doing. I even think Frankie de Jong is quite overrated, to be honest. I think he could struggle in the Premier League. And of course, we know about Donny van de Beek and a few other players from that team. So, yeah, de Ligt wouldn't be a favourite of mine. I can obviously see the links and why Ten Hag would like him, but I hope INEOS dig their heels in and just tell Ten Hag, no, you're not getting him because he's not good enough, and he isn't good enough. He wasn't good enough to stay at Juve. He hasn't been good enough to stay at Bayern, and he sure as hell ain't going to be good enough to lead the line for United. And he's got injury trouble as well. So I would stay away from him like the plague, if I'm being honest. But we'll see what happens. So moving on to our current crop of players, Jadon Sancho not doing too well in his last game with Dortmund. He did have a bit of an injury in their previous game, and then came on as a substitute to replace Marco Reus. And he missed 3 chances in 7 minutes apparently. So just not covering himself in glory in his previous game, and missing a lot of gilt-edged chances for Dortmund. Again, we want him to do well. Anyone who's anti-Sancho or want to see the back of him shouldn't be thrilled or happy to hear that he's also struggling at Dortmund, because I think some people want him to do badly there, so it'll kind of vindicate Ten Hag and every other fan who said he's not good enough out the door. We want him to do well because we want his price to be high. And with the FFP pressure we're under, I want Jadon Sancho to absolutely smash it at Dortmund. And then I want him to be sold because he just doesn't have the right attitude. And someone who's like that will let you down, if not in the immediate future, certainly in the middle to long-term future. Players like that just can't be relied upon. If you haven't grown up by the age of 23, 24, you're probably not gonna. Looks like he's been struggling. He looked jaded during the brief 7 minutes he was on. The winger missed several chances, including a golden opportunity in stoppage time. Julian Brandt found Sancho unmarked at the back post, but the Englishman's left-footed effort was tame and easily saved. It comes after reports that he could be leaving for 58 million. I think United are dreaming, think they're going to get 50 8 million for him to start banging them in. So hopefully Jadon, now that he's kind of coming back after his little niggle in the Bundesliga, will be getting more minutes and of course more opportunities to score and get assists and maybe get himself back in the shop window to get a good transfer fee. But yeah, I'd say his days are numbered, so we want him doing well. And finally, United given food for thought with Mason Greenwood. He's absolutely smashing it over at Spain. He's done very, very well. Got 2 assists in his last game with Getafe. So the article goes on to say here on the Express, he set up 2 goals for Getafe in their late comeback against Celta Vigo on Sunday, sending a fresh message to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, it was reported that he was happy to see the back of Greenwood. But with the amount of troubles that we've had, if we get money for Sancho, a few quid for Pellistri, and then obviously something for Anthony, Greenwood coming back to play for United is a distinct possibility. Firstly, because it's not going to cost us any money to bring him in. We're going to have to give Getafe, I think it's something like 25 to 30% of the transfer fee, because they're willing to take a punt on him. A player of his quality, Getafe should have considered themselves lucky. There was no punting involved there. I know he was out of the game for 18 months, but I thought that was a crazy set of terms to give them. Were they not going to take him on if they weren't going to get a 20% sell-on fee? You're going to snap someone's hand off to get someone like Greenwood if you're a club like Getafe. So the 1-cap England man looked like he had squeezed home a second goal with his effort, just got past goalkeeper Guaita. But as soon as it's heading for the net, Jamie Mata tapped it in from close range. So you hate when it's going in anyway, and then you just give it I had to make sure. And then you get the goal, which is a little bit unfair. But Greenwood doing very, very well. It's taken his tally to 6 assists and 5 goals. So 11 goal involvements so far this year is a great return. And it's only going to get better between now and the end of the season. So they're saying that this is going to be great for increasing his transfer value to get a fee eventually. Barca are the club that are being most strongly linked with them. If ever you are looking for a club for cash, Barca ain't it. So I don't see how we're going to be getting a huge amount of money from Barca for Mason Greenwood. But the main thing here is that it had been expected that providing there was interest in Greenwood, he would leave United permanently after the club released a statement saying that despite the charges against him being dropped, his future would lie elsewhere. But with new man Ratcliffe in charge, it could change how he looks at what Greenwood's future is going to be. So because we're hamstrung by financial fair play, we sell Greenwood, we're going to have to spend that money again on someone else. Are we better off just keeping Greenwood? A lot of people would say yes. Huge amount of people on Twitter want to keep Greenwood. In fact, I would go so far as to say the majority of people would keep Greenwood. There is a lot of people, obviously publicly facing people, that would say no, absolutely not. I'd have none of it. But I think a lot of people would actually have Greenwood back at the club. Or Greenwood could be the answer to Red Devils' goal-scoring problems. No team in the top half of the league has scored fewer goals than United. And with such a big gap on the right-hand side, and with it having been such a difficult area for us to find talent between Sancho, Pellistri, obviously Greenwood leaving under a bit of a cloud, we haven't really been able to nail down that spot. So, if he keeps playing the way he does, there's definitely going to be people stroking their chins going, do we really need to sell him? Maybe we'll just keep him. So a big decision for Ratcliffe to make at the end of the season. And I'll be curious to see how fans divide on that one. But that is it for all the big headlines today. So what do we think of the headlines? Mason Greenwood, would you have him back? Or are we better off just getting rid of him, get whatever money we can and reinvesting it? Big decisions there for Ratcliffe and INEOS, because there's thinking of the team and there's thinking about the fallout and all that kind of stuff. But has it given people time to cool down? I don't know if people can be cooled down over the accusations he faced, which I also get, but a very tough set of decisions ahead for Ratcliffe, Ten Hag. Well, we know what Ten Hag wanted to keep him, but there's a lot of politics and public scrutiny that's at stake here. So I don't envy the people that have to make that decision. Lautaro Martinez, what do people think? Good player who's getting better, or someone who's kind of found his level at Serie A? Should we take a punt on him? His numbers this season are pretty undeniable, and if he did come, would that spell the end for Marcus Rashford? I think it would, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now, Frimpong and Tapsoba, or Branthwaite and someone else, who knows? My preference would be for someone like Jean-Claire Todibo. Tapsoba seems to be a good player. I haven't seen as much of him. There's also Goncalo Inacio, Antonio Silva. There's so many centre halves we've been linked with. But Leverkusen, they are absolutely flying this year. So, you know, they've been a bit of a cornerstone of that. And, you know, can they do it in the Premier League? Would we be willing to bring them in? Yeah. Remains to be seen. And with Jadon Sancho, hopefully his form picks up, he gets over that little niggling injury, and we can get some more money in the coffers for that summer transfer window. As always, thank you very, very much for joining me. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit notifications, and I will see you on the next one.